Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special presentation by popular demand. We've been asked a lot of questions have been, how did you do that? Could you please walk us through and take a step by step and play slowly for us to understand exactly how you were able to play that rendition of Purple Rain on the new event. So I'm going to take it step by step, and that also I'm going to talk about this beautiful keyboard and explain some things that are in there as well. I'm kind of going ahead of the game here. But again, you guys have asked for it, so we're going to deliver it, exactly what we did. And we should cover this again in detail when we approach those particular topics. So I'm going to bundle up exactly the particular features that we use in the keyboard. And the most important one, of course, is being able to quickly recall your settings, what we call registrations, and being able to recall your voices and the tempo and the transposition and all that stuff that you saved or stored in the creation of this beautiful piece. So let me start off here, first of all, with the sound. So when you want to start using one of these, what you think about is, what sounds do you need to use for your piece of music? So in this particular case here, if I take you over to the screen here real quick, or the top panel, we're going to start off with the AjamSonic guitar, right? So if I touch the guitar, let's see what it got. It's called Purple AJ Guitar. And what we want to do is we want to see exactly what the composition of that guitar is, all right? So I'm just going to touch that for 2 seconds, and it takes you into the screen. So we have 3 voices that we're pretty much using in there, and the fourth one, of course, is the sample that we have in the machine. All right. So if you look at that, these are the settings we have. Now I'm going to do some little bit of tweaking here, so it actually sounds even better. All right, because a lot of people were also asking for us to, record this in a stereo field, and I think that's a biggie. So let's pan the different instruments and different parts, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. But this is how it all started up as for the most part. Okay, I'm going to save. Do you want to override this? Yes, I do. All right. So in that guitar, that's what we did was we went in there. We actually have different setups. I'm going to go back in there again so you can see my settings that were used. All right. Range is the entire keyboard, but where we did a lot of things or a lot of changes was back here with the effects and being able to apply certain effects to certain sounds. Okay. And I'm going to store that as a preset, which is what we just did right now. So if I get out of there, that preset is called Purple AJ Guitar. And like we said before in our first series of videos, right, you actually store that in the user section. So where would that be at? If I go over here to recall that instrument, I would just simply have to go to user voice, and I go to the guitar category, and I have those special voices in there. So that's the voice I want to use. So that's picked right now. Now, the style I want to use is also a style that we built specifically for this. Of course, you can also do modification. I'm going to explain that to you as well, too. So right now we have this style called Purple Trap AJ. And what is the composition of this style, right? If I go into View and Modeling, I can see there on the screen, it takes me to this screen right here, which is telling me what my elements are. So for the drums, I'm using a live drum called Trap 76, okay? And I'm also using a standard drum set to add things like percussion and stuff as well. So you can play together MIDI and audio. So the real drum is your audio track, which is Trap 76, that has the folder that has all the different elements for the audio drum, for arranger A, B, C, D, fill in, and everything else, all right? And of course, the drum kit is a standard drum kit, and that's the volume right there. For my bass, I'm using a sinus bass. Actually, it's a MIDI bass, so that's, believe it or not, very, very heavy indeed. Now, for my chords, this is where it gets interesting, all right? So in variation A, I have these particular goodies. Let me see if I can actually zoom in here a little bit closer so you can see. All right, there we go. Right, there we go. So for arranger A, we have these particular sounds. Chord 1 and 2 are MIDI chords, 3, 4, and 5 are also MIDI. But where it gets interesting, when I go to arranger B right there, see what happened? I use the Ballad 73 A, which is a live guitar. And if I want to just hear that guitar by itself, I'm going to go over here to the left of the panel, and I'm going to bring down the drums, bring down the bass, bring down the chord. And bring down the lowers. I just want you to listen to that real chord by itself, because when you hear it, where it comes in the music is where it makes a big difference. So right now I am going to zoom out slightly again, And this time you can see exactly what I'm doing here with my chord on my left. And I have my strings on my lower. If I go to my lower part, so the nice strings you heard in the background, these are the strings right here. Now in variation C, that's coming out of this right here, okay? And just so you know, people were asking, making your own styles, I can change that. I can go in here and touch that, okay? And it gives me a whole plethora of live chords. Let's say I don't want that one. Let's say I want to listen to Ballad 100, okay? Touch that, listen to the difference. So pretty much I've gone ahead and selected, you know, for the case of this piece I was going to do right now, I wanted to do or use the Ballad 3, okay? So that's what you do, and you set up your style, all right? I can, again, you know, pick up a bass or a different bass track if I want to go to the bass. Like you could see right now in Arranger C, I used the real bass, all right? I used a real bass in Arranger C, and that's why the bass is actually the one that is highlighted over there, real, okay? So watch in Arranger B, I used a real bass as well called Pop Jazz. Arranger A, I used a MIDI bass, okay? In an Arranger D, again, same selection. If I don't like that bass, I just simply go ahead and I touch the screen, okay, or the bass track, and I can select which of these bass tracks I want right here. Again, a plethora load, especially if you have the AjamSonic package. You have a lot more on the bottom pages here, okay? So once you've done that, the first thing you want to do, remember you did the voices. You did your voices, you tune up the voice to make it sound the way you want it to do, you want it to sound, and you save that voice, right? Now the next thing you want to do is do the style as well. And when you're done with that, you simply press the save button on the panel and you save this style, okay? You're gonna save it as a user style. So that is how I have prepared for this particular song, right? I have set a voice, prepared the voice, I've set a style, prepared a style. Then you test it out. You actually play with the sound and listen to how it's gonna sound, okay? And one more thing you did, because people were saying, how do you avoid typing like you were doing in the other video? Or how do you avoid pushing buttons? Well, as a function on here, if I go to the panel, okay, and it's called voice to ABC. So if you look at the screen right there, if I zoom into that screen, on the bottom, we have one of these neat features from KETRON called voice to ABC. And what that means is you can associate a lead voice to any of the variations. In other words, when I press variation A, not only does it play the style of variation A, but it also plays whatever voice was associated with it. If I press variation B, not only does it play a variation of the style, Arranger B, but it also plays whatever voice is associated with that variation. So as you can see, right now, the voices are switching on the screen. So if I turn voice to ABC off, and I just switch my voices, nothing switches, right? The screen remains inactive. So it will be a consistent voice across. But I don't want to be leaving the keyboard and having to change the voice and change the variation at the same time. So what do? I'm going to affiliate these voices by turning on the voice to ABC. By doing that, it means that when I'm in Arranger A, I can now select what voice do I want of these four to use when I'm in Arranger A. I can pick the second one, the third one, or the fourth. In this case, I want to use the first one. And when I'm in Arranger B, which voice do I want to use? I want to use the second one or the first one again, okay? If I'm in Arranger C, oh, by the way, I want to use the purple AJ guitar here. And when I'm in Arranger D, I want to use the other guitar sound, and you can, of course, make the selection right there. If I don't want that one, I just touch it and hold it for 2 seconds, and I can pick whatever other voice I want to use from any other category. pick that and exit, and it puts it into that location. Okay, so pretty much, again, you set this stuff ahead of time, and you can balance these voices. Let's say the second voice is a little bit too loud. I can go here and touch the voice balance icon, and I can either reduce it or increase it. So I want to balance the sounds relative to each of the four right here, so that when I change the voices, one is not too loud and the other is too low. Okay, so this is very nice. You customize and do all this stuff, and right here you just simply press the save button, and it brings you back to this screen, and you're going to save user style. You're going to hit save as, and then you're going to give it a name. Okay, so you can give it a name by typing on the keyboard. That user style is going to get saved to a particular location, where when you go over here, for an example, it's going to be under user style. Okay, so when I press this button over here, the user style will now display my particular style that I'm working for. And there's a bunch of them that I have done here so far. Now you've done everything. You've set the machine up. Oh, one more thing too. These buttons over here can also be affiliated with the vocalizer, right? So again, KETRON makes it so easy for you to be able to quickly access voices, styles, and parameters at a touch of a button. Okay, so we discussed the variation buttons being able to tie them to a voice, but they can also be tied to the vocalizer setting. So for an example, you can be in variation A and you want nothing but a regular microphone. In variation B, you want the microphone to have effects. In variation C, you want to have a harmonizer or harmony, right? And in variation D, you want to just blow the roof away, right? So that can be done. Again, we're going ahead of ourselves here, but that's going to be done under this section on the right-hand side with my vocalizer. So I'll go into my Voicetron, which is a KETRON vocalizer, press and hold that for 2 seconds. And if you see the top right hand, it says Voicetron to Arranger. And if you check that box over there, now it shows you that Arranger A has whatever the current setting is. I can touch that and change it and say, listen, when I'm in Arranger A, I don't want to have a vocalizer. I want that to be off, right? When I go to Arranger B, I'm going to touch the top. I'm going to go to Arranger B and hit enter. And when I'm in Arranger B, I want the vocalizer to be on Trio 2 and hit enter. Okay? See what I'm doing? When I'm in Arranger C, I want this to be, let's say, when I'm in Arranger C, I want the particular vocalizer setting to be, let's see, country down, okay? And hit enter. And when I go to Arranger D, right, I want to use the, let's see, I want to use the bluegrass up vocalizer setting. And when I stop playing the style altogether, which is very crucial, you might take this for granted, actually, I don't want the vocalizer. I don't want anything. I don't want even the effects. I want to turn that off, right? So as you can see here, I've already assigned the different things or the different, and of course, I hit save and save that particular setup as well. So what am I doing right now? I am preparing for this particular song that I want to play on stage when I go live. But imagine it's practically close to impossible to be able to get to the stage and recall all of these things in front of your audience. They're going to be looking at you like this. Some of them might even lose courage and walk out, right? And you might lose some gigs that way. So what do? You have what they call registration, which is a snapshot of the keyboard at any given time. So right now we love the keyboard the way it is. We want to take this keyboard and go to the gig and be able to recall this particular setting instantly like that. So what do? I simply go here and I press the registration button on the top right corner over there, registration, and I'm going to hit save. And as you can see, okay, in my case, I already have it in there saved. But normally you would hit the save button, you hit registration, and you're going to click on save as, and you give it a name. All right. So in my case, I've already done that for a couple of tunes. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to try and exit out of here and be back to that screen. So when I get to the gig, when I get to my audience, I turn the keyboard up, put my wires, well, put the wires in first, of course, and then turn the keyboard on, right? Now, what do I want to do? I want to be able to perform before the audience, right? So I now have done this for many, many, many other songs. So I have a whole set list of songs in there, registrations, right? Simple. All I have to do when I get to my show, I'm going to just touch registration, and it's going to give me all the different setups I have. These are all my songs I did so far for some of the demonstrations, you know, upside down, it gotta be, and all that kind of stuff. So again, I'm just going to come to Purple Rain, and I'm going to just touch that. and it beeps, and look at that. All my screen and everything's loaded up for Purple Rain instantly. Now, registrations are very powerful. You can use registrations to recall settings on the keyboard, but not only that, you can also recall pretty quick MIDI files. You can recall voices, you can recall MP3s, you can recall WAV, you can recall PDFs at the touch of a button. So that's what the registration does. How many registrations can you do? On the SD9, we had 1,024 in each bank of registration, right? So bank 1 has 1,024, bank 2, bank 3, bank 4. In this case, because now we're streaming a lot, nearly everything from the SSD, guess what we did this time? You can have a million of them if you wanted to. It all depends on the size of the SSD drive that you have in your keyboard. So if you have a 240 gigabyte or a 500 gigabyte or a 1 terabyte, you can just imagine how many registrations. It's the same thing for the styles as well. No limit to that. It's all depends on the size of the SSD because it's now streaming from the SSD like that in real time. Okay, so now that we'll put everything together, and I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to click on that Purple Rain. I'm going to load that, okay, by simply tapping that, okay, and it loads the particular setup. So now we can explore and perform this piece.